Hello and welcome to the award-winning The Morning Watch on Love 101 FM. I'm your host, Stokeley Marshall. A special welcome to our listeners on love101.org. And if you are overseas and on the move, US listeners can access us at 712-832-8001. And if you are in the UK, 0330-332-6541. Or join us via the Love 101 FM app that can be downloaded from the Google Play Store or the Apple Store. You can also join us on Love 101 FM Facebook and YouTube Live. And in the first watch today, since October the 7th, 2023, tracking the Israeli-Hamas conflict. And in second watch, should we be doing Passover or should we pass over this Jewish tradition? For our social media question, we ask, if you are not a Jew, why do you celebrate Passover? If you are not a Jew, why do you celebrate Passover? Share your responses on our Love 101 FM Facebook page and YouTube channel, and also on WhatsApp 876-997-3125 using hashtag The Morning Watch. We'll share your response later on in the program, but first, here's our quote.
All right, good morning, good morning, good morning. Today's iQuote says, the world is a book, and those who don't travel read only one page.
So every country is one page.
That's right. That's right. I'm going to be reading the whole book.
Good morning, Jukan.
Good morning, good morning.
The first watch. We'll be back after this break.
It's time to twist and win with Coca-Cola. Enter for a chance to win a magical travel experience, carnival costumes, TVs, earpods, and so much more. Entering is easy. Just purchase any Coca-Cola with a white cap. WhatsApp the code under the cap to 876-214-5756. And that's it. Visit us on Instagram at Wasinka Hub or Coca-Cola Jamaica for more information. It's time to twist and win with Coca-Cola.
Don't fall victim to deepfakes.
Watch out.
Protect yourself.
What is the
For
on
more
my TV?
information, visit broadcastingcommission.org.
Here ya, baby.
QR code on screen.
Deepfake. No deepfake can't catch me.
Junior, you know say AI can make something will look and sound just like you. One day Junior get a voice note from her granny. Say the food done, the medication done, and she need money urgently.
Need money urgently. But Miss Pat no like ask people for things.
And as so comes, Judy get suspicious.
So what she do?
She asks the neighbor to go check pan her. Junior, the lady quite alright over there make her Sunday dinner.
So the voice note a deepfake.
Yes, my love. Come, your food ready.
Right now it look like we have to outsmart the AI. But wait, I really want dege dumpling here, give me.
Me I wonder if AI can make one deep fake dumpling for you.
To learn more about deepfakes, visit www.broadcastingcommission.org.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. I'm your host, Stokeley Marshall, on the one day after October the 7th, 2023, that attack, the Israeli cabinet formally declared war against Hamas. It's what we now call the Israeli-Hamas conflict. Since then, there has been ground invasion. There have been ground invasions, aerial assaults, truces, hostage releases, population displacement, to say the least. And the Hague Group was formed. It is indicated that an estimated 17,000 Hamas militants were killed. It's also assessed that Hamas has been able to recruit replacements for nearly all the fighters that have been lost so far. What's the status at the moment? We have as our guest for this discussion, we have Reverend Dr. Ralston Nemart, Anglican priest, writer, columnist, author, and Pastor Christopher Kennedy, Pastor Jorland and Abrams Mennonite Churches, Pastor Kennedy, Reverend Dr. Ralston Hyman, Pastor Christopher Kennedy. Good morning, gentlemen. How are you doing?
Morning, Stokeley, and good morning to our fellow guests and your listeners.
Morning again to you and your listeners.
Morning to you both.
Reverend Nemad.
Morning, sir.
Good morning.
We are hoping you can help us to understand what on earth is taking place here. The chronology since 2023 Israeli-Hamas conflict. Maybe just as a bit of a synopsis. Either of you, which of you would like to go first to give us a brief synopsis as to what really had happened? I mean, this is not a classroom, but whoever puts up their hand first. Pastor Kennedy.
I'll bend to the older man among us.
Oh, you know what? No comment. No comment. Pastor Kennedy, would you wish to go first?
Not wish, but I will, since he has asked me to. But
okay, sir.
This is such an war, such an unfortunate thing, you know. As Christians, what we're essentially concerned about is the salvation of people. And sometimes we find ourselves dragged into major conflicts where we see a battle between good and evil. I do not hesitate. I disagree with the BBC and the others who want to talk about Hamas as freedom fighters. They are terrorists. They are some of the worst terrorists we have ever seen in the history of the human race. And we get drawn into it when we know people are dying and their souls, you know, are being lost because they haven't trusted Jesus Christ as Lord and Savior. Since October the 7th, though, I find that there has been a propaganda campaign that is absolutely unbelievable. You can't believe that people at the level of the UN can be a part of these narratives. And we're talking about Israel. War can't be justified. I don't know what to do. I don't know what I would have done in this situation. But we have always known that Israel fights war with the highest level of ethics. We see that is coming under attack now by people, by propaganda. Israel dropped leaflets. They never used to challenge these claims by Israel. They intercept telephone, they intercept text messages and the internet. They do loudspeaker, they do things like sonic boom buildings, you know. We know that in war sometimes there's always a sense of inconsistency because war is war, you know, and there is friendly fire. Many of their soldiers, they're the ones who kill them because you don't have a chance to think or to, you know, react in a paused way. And so war is absolutely chaos. But yes, as we track this war, I really think that something needs to be done about Hamas, and the media must not be drawn into defending terrorism. It's absolutely unfortunate. And I want to pause there because we don't have a lot of time.
You know, Pastor Kennedy, there's a view that some persons have that Israel could have stopped October the 7th. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, that's kind of strange. That's kind of strange. I know, though, one of the things that they've been saying is that these maneuvers that I've been seeing on the part of Hamas, they happen so often. So people are saying that why is it that they were getting these warnings, but they're saying that it happens all the time, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Hamas is always maneuvering. And so this attack at a time when Israel was almost on the brink of a kind of civil war, you know, there was this fight between the government and the judiciary, and Hamas just knew the right time to attack. It seems plausible because things were happening that could have caused that kind of thing. So that's my input right there.
Reverend Dr. Ralston Nemad, Anglican priest, writer, columnist, author. What would you be writing now as part of your commentary on this matter, sir?
But it is a very, it has become a very complicated situation. To begin with, Israel's response to the Hamas attack, you know, was a correct response. But I think the way that the war has played out, you know, over time, you know, Israel, in my view, has lost the high moral ground in what I regard as the disproportionate response to the attack by Hamas. almost 10,000 children have been killed on a sliver of land that is not probably as big as St. James. Women and children and elderly people have been killed indiscriminately from 2,000-pound bombs that were dropped on that little sliver of land. And while the world would have understood Israel's response in the first place, because you don't attack them and they are not going to respond. I mean, it was their moral right to respond, but it is a proportion of the response that has baffled the world, frankly. And secondly, what lies behind this kind of response? Netanyahu's legal troubles and the obsession of the religious right in Israel, and especially in the government, to really see the decimation of the culture of the Palestinians. And I think that is what is now front and center with regard to the peace initiatives that they're trying to get hold of. And now we have the situation more complicated because President Trump is now president of the United States, and it has kind of changed the calculus for peace in that region in a very radical way. Now they want to use Gaza as a kind of tourist strip, and don't think that they're not moving towards that. So the whole idea is to end the culture of the Palestinians as it is, and that cannot be. We talk about the peace of Jerusalem, praying for the peace of Jerusalem, as you indicated in the piece that in reference to Psalm 122. And we talk about the peace of Jerusalem, but peace cannot be done outside of the context of the recognition of the human rights of the Palestinians. If you're going to pray for the peace of Jerusalem, you're going to have to also pray that there be justice and so on for the Palestinian people. You just don't erase, by what I have described as genocidal, the history of a people. I don't know of a God who could tolerate that.
I'm sorry. I think you were coming in, Pastor Kennedy.
Yeah. I think your response has been measured, Reverend. But I think I really think that the narrative has been dominated by the enemies of Israel. I still have not seen anybody who has challenged many of the claims that Israel has made, that never been a war where civilians to combatants, the ratio has been so small. Israel has been able to do much better than what Obama was able to do with ISIS. We haven't heard all what people are doing at the UN. They have not been able to challenge these figures, and one of the reasons why the devastation is so terrible is that, remember, when you drop a bomb on military facilities, you're going to have a double explosion. But Israel, those 1,000-pound bombs, according to what they're saying, because I still have not
Pastor Kennedy, hold the thought about bombing a military facility. We're upon a break. Listeners, please stay with us. We'll be right back at the Morning Watch.
Time on Love 101 is now 7:15. You're listening to The Morning Watch.
You're invited to listen to Dollars and Cents every Thursday at 8:16 a.m. We'll give you tips on how to make your money count, how to save, and how to grow your worth. It's all inside Dollars and Cents, brought to you by BPM Financial Limited, taking you higher. That's Dollars and Cents every Thursday at 8:16 a.m. on the family station, Love 101. Reverend Clive Cole Ministries presents Total Praise Gospel Concert with Marvia Providence, Jai Kingston, Joan Fleming, Sister Arlene, Leviticus Backing Band, and more. MC Nadine Blair. Tickets 2,500, pre-sold 3,000 at the gate. Children 12 and under 1,000. Tickets at Juicy Patties in Kellett's, Smith Brothers Hardware and Farm Store, Mason River. Good Friday, April 18. Kellett's Primary School in Clarendon. Gates open 6 p.m. Showtime 7 p.m. 876-377-5936.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. I'm your host, Stokeley Marshall. We are in the first watch, and we are looking interestingly at the topic in relation to Israel and Hamas. And our guests are Reverend Dr. Ralston Nemard and Pastor Christopher Kennedy. Since October the 7th, 2023, tracking the Israeli-Hamas conflict. Pastor Kennedy, just before the break, you're making a point about when you bomb a military facility. Please continue, sir.
It's going to be devastating, and we're going to see what looks like the raising of Gaza, tremendous explosions. And I've not seen people respond to Israel's argument. I think Israel is clearly winning the logical, intellectual battle, even though Hamas and their supporters are winning the popular one. But I think if you sit down and listen seriously, if you understand what debates are, especially organized debates, I don't think they've responded well. They're just making a lot of noise and throwing a lot of ideas all around, and what I say propaganda, but I don't think they've responded well to Israel's argument that if you're bombing tunnels, because listen, Egypt and the Arab nations through Hamas have been preparing for this war for a long, long time. And their strategy is to build these tunnels, right? Have Israel come in and they count the figures. And that's why as Christians, we need to be very careful, that even as people who are ministers and so on, what Hamas wants are the figures. We know that they're lying, because just the other day they adjusted the figures, right? But they want casualties, because that's what you and I listening to all of this. It's the first time in my life I don't think that my intellect has been helping me, because sometimes when you look at a child with their eyes blown out, what do? Even if the person is sitting behind a child and firing a gun at you and you have to fire back the gun, they have really gotten people into an emotional and psychological trap, I think, the Palestinians and the UN, these Europeans are historical enemies of the Jews. Anti-Semitism is is one of the strangest phenomena we have ever had in the history of the human race. Israel, as I close, because I know you want to come in, 1 billion in Chinese, 1 billion Indians. The Jews are just as old as those civilizations, 15 million. That speaks a lot. Consistently, Hamas and the Arabs have been attacking Israel long before 1940.
Interesting, Pastor Kennedy. Do you think, before we bring you back in, Reverend Dr. Ralston Hyman, Pastor Kennedy, do you think that the sympathy towards the Palestinians is somewhat overblown?
Oh, listen, it is anti-Semitism, it's the fulfillment of prophecy. Israel is the only nation that can demonstrate the existence of a God historically and politically. And I think that's the problem. The first of evil wants to erase.
I know I'm cutting in, but do you think the definition of anti-Semitism is a little bit too wide? Because almost anything could be deemed anti-Semitic, Maybe even Christianity could be.
That's true. When it's politicized, people just use that, because I hear some people, some Arabs and some rabbis and so on, they're just completely irresponsible. I think some people are criticizing Israel justifiably. We know that war is like that. War is inconsistent. It's just that I don't think that some things are definitive. Some of the things that Israel would do in a war, there are mistakes. There might be rogue soldiers, it does happen, but I don't think they are definitive. I think this is the most, in my mind, as I look at the debates, the most responsible approach to warfare that I've ever seen, by far. Absolutely by far.
Understood. Reverend Dr. Ralston Nemard, picking up on that point, I know that there are lots of other things to comment on, but the definition of anti-Semitism, is it too wide?
Well, anti-Semitism is something that has been around from the very beginning of Israel's existence. going all the way back to the biblical narrative, on the formation of Israel. So it has
But
been a history.
arguably, the Palestinians are Semitic as well. I'm sorry, my apologies,
Yeah,
because
but the
all the
anti-Semitism
persons from that region of the world, aren't they all Semites?
yeah, they
You
are
can correct me
Semitic
if I'm wrong.
they're Semitic people, but the anti-Semitism is a category that is specifically applied to the Israelis themselves and to Israeli
Why is that
culture
so? I find it
and
interesting. Why is
Zionism.
that so? I find that interesting. Why is it so? I mean, an English word is an English word. So why apply it to only one set of people?
It is how the culture has evolved,
I
because
see.
the
Okay.
Israelis became dominant, of course, and in the midst of becoming dominant in the area, however they did it.
Yeah.
And what is interesting is that the who were described as terrorists in those days, in the 1940 going up to 1948, when people like Menachem Begin and others were out there, bombing up British facilities and so on. They were regarded as terrorists, but then they became freedom fighters. And I find it interesting that the categories that are sometimes applied to Hamas, although I believe that the designation of them as a terrorist group is something that one can understand. But to go back to the whole question of the way that the war has been conducted,
Yeah.
and the way in which it is a proportionate response to the attack on Israel and the number of lives. We may have some question about the statistics, but the statistics themselves have been corroborated, although the numbers that are put out by the Palestinian authorities and so on, they don't run too far from other independent assessments. But you can see it. I mean, you don't have 2.3 million people on a piece of real estate, as I described it, a
Yes.
sliver of land, and you're dropping 2,000-pound bombs. And, to get probably on a hospital or in a school compound to get a few terrorists that are underneath in a tunnel, and think that you're not going to be killing off a whole lot of people. That, in the sight of God, could not be something that the God that I know, the God of justice, the God who wants the best for everybody, that you could be, that he would be behind that kind of what I call massacre of innocent people. Whatever the statistics, I will know the statistics are very high in terms of what has happened to the Palestinians population there. There's no question about that. But then it's a question also
Reverend
of
Dr. Ross
motive.
and Emerald, if I could jump in here, sir, with it,
Yeah.
war crimes. Have the Israelis, in your view, committed war crimes, and what specifically would you refer to as war crimes committed by the Israelis?
I have heard the designation, but it could be something of a stretch to hold people responsible, the Israelis responsible for war crimes in the context of the provocation that was started by Hamas and their response. I think that is a bit more difficult.
Go ahead.
Yeah, it is gonna be a bit more difficult to designate those Israeli individuals as war criminals. I think
You spoke earlier today. I know, changing gears slightly, but not totally. You had indicated, you had made reference earlier to the United States of America and the current U.S. President Donald Trump.
Yes.
What is your view of the reaction at the moment, otherwise in terms of the U.S. administration? And I'll be a little bit more specific with the question. In other words, we're seeing where even on university campuses in the U.S., it's being indicated that persons who express anti-Semitism can find themselves in trouble. And there's that debate between, whether you're saying something anti-Semitic and freedom of speech. And so you have that tug of war now. And clearly the U.S. administration has, indicated very strongly where it stands with Israel. So,
Right.
I mean, the Biden administration did as well, but it seems to be more pronounced with the current president of the United States. So, any thoughts on that? Because, again, what is anti-Semitic? What can get you in trouble on a college campus? I mean, your child could be on one of these college campuses and they get caught up in the euphoria of a demonstration and they could find themselves in deep trouble. And even the whole matter of the freezing of funds to some of these Ivy League colleges on the basis that they might be, certain things might be done on those campuses that are not in keeping with the position at the moment, certainly, in terms of not expert, in other words, if you go the anti-Semitic route, this is what could happen to you. Reverend Dr. Ralston Emmer.
What you find is that the definition of anti-Semitism sometimes fits into a kind of narrative, a kind of political narrative that suits the people who tend to want to use that term. I mean, take the United States involvement right now. Netanyahu himself on a visit to the US said that they do not have a better friend ever as president of the United States than they have had in Trump. But you see the intentions that the US has now in the Middle East with regard to Israel, especially with Israel, because they are really deeply connected now. And I don't believe that the intentions are that honorable, because it is slanted in one direction. Absolute support for the cause of Israel over against the cause of the Palestinians. And you will never have peace in that region where you are selective in who you want to support. And right now, the American support is strongly on the part of the Israelis over against the interest of the Palestinians. And you cannot erase the Palestinians, and you cannot erase Israel. So both sides, in a sense, are on a foolish errand, thinking that by might and power, they can establish themselves in the region. They are first cousins, and they need to sit down and work this thing out. It's not going to be...
Are they half-brothers?
Either half-brothers or first cousins, but they're blood relatives from the stock of Abraham.
Half-brothers.
Right.
Yes,
and so they need to sit down and say, it doesn't make sense that your brothers and my brothers on either side are being destroyed. We have had this conflict for almost 3,000 years, and it has gotten worse now.
Yes, half-brothers and half-sisters.
And Americans are going to end it because their intentions are not honorable in the Middle East.
Or let me use your term. Let me say cousins. I'll say cousins. Pastor Kennedy,
first cousins.
Almost anything. Pastor Kennedy, almost anything can be anti-Semitic now, because, I mean, any other religion arguably is anti-Semitic. You're not agreeing with Judaism or the Jewish religion. I don't know. Pastor Kennedy,
in terms of the campuses, though, some of these guys like Mahmoud Abbas, they have been involved in destroying property and so on, making Jewish students afraid to go to class and so on. But finally, let me just say that you cannot negotiate with Islam. Islam doesn't give away land. That's where I disagree, Reverend Nema.
I see.
If the Jews convert today, there will be peace in Palestine. If the Jews convert to Islam, there will be peace.
I see. Very
but how is that conversion
point.
going to take place, my brother? How is that conversion going to take place?
It will not.
There's nobody who has of the two, because they were both on the same.
Gentlemen, we have to leave it there this morning because we are completely and totally out of time.
All right.
Thank you, Pastor Kennedy and Reverend Dr. Ralston Nemar. Thank you so much, Pastor Christopher Kennedy, Reverend Dr. Ralston Nemar. Thank you for your time this morning on the Morning Watch. Very interesting.
My pleasure. Have a good day.
Listeners, please stay with us. We'll be right back at the Morning Watch.
Open a deposit account in the JN Bank Savings Streams promotion and save monthly for a chance to win an all-expenses-paid trip to Peru. Enter now. The time by JN Bank Savings Streams promotion is
7:30.
Get the inside scoop. Tune in to Budget Bites, a brief breakdown of the 2025 budget presentation by Prime Minister Dr. Andrew Holness. It's an informative snapshot of the budget and what it means for you. Don't miss Budget Bites, bite-sized insights into the Prime Minister's vision for Jamaica. Budget Bites, unpacking the budget for you.
Attention, Jamaica! Fenty Beauty has arrived. Now available exclusively at Fontana Waterloo and Fontana Montego Bay. Join us in store to find your perfect foundation and skincare routine with Fenty Beauty and Fenty Skin today.
Jamaica and its workforce are advancing quickly. Life-changing opportunities are arising. You need training and support. We are the Renewed Heart NSTA Trust, committed to providing new and emerging skills training and opportunities. Come to Heart. We'll help you claim your place in the workforce of the future.
By your side, looking after life. We've been here for 25 years and we are
Guardian Life.
Just getting started, leading the way every day, protecting you and yours at every stage.
Guardian Life.
Looking after life, caring for family, caring for you. Looking after life is what we do.
For every generation, for every stage, your partner for 25 years. Guardian Life.
Looking after life.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. I'm your host, Stokeley Marshall. Let's take a look now at the newspaper to see what Jamaicans and others are saying and doing. And we have here in the Observer, University Hospital's Chief of Staff taken to court over alleged physical assault of colleague. And we have also in the Jamaica Observer, my apologies, in the Gleaner, child kidnapped from Clarendon rescued in Ewerton, St. Catherine. And we have in Loop Jamaica News, trainee constable dies after collapsing at police training facility. Our condolences to the family. Those and many other stories in our
the next episode of the Mailbox, we'll be focusing on God's grace. God's grace signifies God's favor, kindness, and love bestowed upon humanity, offering forgiveness, salvation, and the means to live a righteous life. You are invited to hear the testimony of Mr. Paul Park's journey from not being able to read after high school to guidance counselor and lecturer at the GC Foster College. The Mailbox is brought to you by Solid PVC Pipes, manufactured in Jamaica by Fosrich Company Limited. That's Wednesday, April 16 at 5:30 p.m. only on the family station Love 101. The Mailbox, Monday.
Figure preach your word, preach it up like a storm. Anointed from him.
This is a special announcement from Love 101 and Love Television. Our general offices will be closed to the public at 12 noon on Holy Thursday, April 17 through to Easter Monday, April 21, 2025, and will reopen on Tuesday, April 22 at 8:30 a.m. Programs and commercials for the period Thursday, April 17 through to Tuesday, April 22 should be submitted by 9 a.m. on Wednesday, April 16, 2025. Obituaries and notices should be submitted by 10 a.m. on the same day to ensure scheduling for broadcast. Love 101 and Love TV wish for you and yours a holy and peaceful Easter weekend.
I call you holy.
The Welcome Park New Testament Church of God, in association with Donnie McClurkin Ministries and Allow to Shine Ministries, under the leadership of Nadine Blair, presents a Pastors Forum and Evening of Worship. The Pastors Forum and Evening of Worship will be held on Thursday, May 1, 5 p.m. for the Pastors Forum, 7 p.m. for the Evening of Worship, featuring audience of one, the Welcome Park New Testament Church of God worship team, and Pastor Donnie McClurkin. Admission is free. Bring an offering. That's the Pastors Forum and Evening of Worship, presented by Donnie McClurkin. Don't miss this time of worship and fellowship. Thursday, May 1. See you there.
What is a budget? A budget is an estimate of total income and expenses over a period of time, such as a month or a week. You should review your budget often. You can make a budget for any project, business, or financial goal that you may have. This financial literacy tip was brought to you by Bank of Jamaica, building an inclusive economy.
When you say phosphorus, you say electrical. SWA cables, conduits, transformers, and breakers. When you say phosphorus, you say lighting, chandeliers, and more. When you say phosphorus, you say LEDs and solar water heaters. Phosphorus is electrical, lighting, solar, and LEDs. Visit us today, Kingston, Mandeville, and Montego Bay. Phosphorus.
You're invited to the official launch of the Ronald Blair Foundation Limited, Saturday, April 19 at 9 a.m. We're still celebrating a great man by carrying on his legacy with what was close to his heart. Learn more about the man we celebrate. Join us 9 a.m. Saturday, April 19 on YouTube at Nadine Blair, and find out more about the foundation and how you can help. Join us as we count down to Arise 2025 this Easter Sunday, April 20 at the National Arena, 5 p.m. And Jamaica, you must be there. Listen to Love 101 for the music, the updates, giveaways, and much more. Thursdays, 11:30 a.m. General admission only 5,000, 6,000 at the gate, VIP 9,000. Tickets at Sorts of Light, Music Mart, SpurOpen.com/Arise 2025. Get your tickets now at SpurOpen.com/Arise 2025. And come sing with the Hoppers. Celebrate with the Gospel Proclaimers. Kingsway Alumni Reunion Voices, Carrie Sales, Venetia Nicholson Reed, Humble, and others. That's Countdown to Arise 2025. Listen to Love 101 Thursdays, 11:30 a.m. to 12 p.m. Arise 2025. Easter Sunday, April 20, National Arena. It's gonna be a shouting time in Kingston.
Welcome back to the morning with here. I'm your host, Stokeley Marshall. I must first of all apologize for that a while ago in the transition. The technology froze on us. So at this time, we will be looking add our comment, Jutta, in terms of our social media question? If you're a Jew, if you're not a Jew, rather, why would you celebrate, or why do you celebrate Passover, Jutta?
All right. So, based on what I have here, yes, Sherry in Spanish Town says if a person wants to celebrate the Passover, even though they're not a Jew, first you need to learn what the Passover is and what the significance of it is as well. Whatever tradition or culture one wants to follow, it is their right. But I believe you should know and understand the significance of what you're doing or following.
Interesting. You have a comment, Jutta?
No, man, that's it for now.
I see. Well, keep those comments coming in. Thank you for that, sir. Well, we move right into the second watch. Passover 2025 began at sundown on April 12th and will end at sundown April 20th. It's a major Jewish holiday, but more and more Christians are partaking in it, Christian Jamaicans, if I could add that. And some are ditching the traditional bun and cheese at Easter. Yes, ditching the traditional bun and cheese, maybe thinking it's pagan, and it probably quite much is. It is, yes. And as Christians, we have been divided on the subject somewhat. And should we be celebrating either Passover or Easter? I have my own personal views on it. I'm not really into the bun and cheese business. I don't think that was the original intention from a Christian angle. But our guest this morning to discuss this and look at this, we have Michael Allen. He's a Christian who celebrates Passover. And we also have Reverend Dr. Clinton Baldwin. Reverend Dr. Clinton Baldwin is the pastor of Rest in Christ Community Church. And he's a theologian. Yes. So, Mr. Allen, Reverend Dr. Baldwin, are you both on?
Yes, I'm here. Good morning.
Yes, pleasant morning to you.
Morning to the both. Yes?
Yes.
Well, we start with Michael Allen. Michael Allen? Mr. Allen, sir?
I'm here. Go ahead.
You're wonderful. Mr. Allen, tell us, should we be celebrating either of them? Well, let me preface it by saying, again, you are Christian celebrating Passover, but why do you celebrate Passover and not celebrate?
We definitely should be celebrating the Passover. It is the feast of the Lord. It's an invitation, an appointment that He has given. And
but isn't it a Jewish celebration, sir? Why are you celebrating a Jewish celebration? Are you Jewish?
Forgive me a little bit, but there's an echo, but I'm gonna fight with it and try and respond.
Yes, I noticed the same thing. I thought it was only on my end. I didn't realize you were experiencing it as well. My apologies.
Right. So, who are Israel, or who are the Jews? As Christians, the Bible tells us that we have been grafted in. And so there is no separation between Jew and Gentile. And so the position that I have taken from Scripture is that this feast has been instituted by our Father, and He expects us all to honor it and to celebrate it.
I see. Well, I don't know. Well, let's go to Reverend Dr. Baldwin. Well, you know what, Reverend Dr. Baldwin, can you hold your thought until after the break? Because we're now upon a break as well. Listeners, please stay with us. We'll be right back on the morning watch.
Get your tickets now and join the Hoppers and Others Easter Sunday, April 20, National Arena. The time by Arise 2025 is
7:45.
Mama work hard, for real. She do the most to send me and my brother go school. So, the dream was always to go to university. Well, I fulfilled 2 dreams with 1 Jane Bank savings plan, you know. I further my education and I make mama proud.
Save so you can make the par, travel far, graduate like a star.
Stop wishing you could. With your Jane Bank savings, you absolutely can. Jane Bank will help you find a way.
Life is on the go, but you've got this Brunswick boneless sardine snacking made easy to prepare. Healthy, tasty, have it anytime, anywhere. Fuel your body day and night with the taste of the seaside. There's no challenge you can fight with Brunswick boneless sardines by your side.
Life doesn't slow down, and neither do you. Brunswick boneless sardines are packed with omega-3 and ready to eat right out of the can. Try the hot peppers, the delicious olive oil, or the new spicy Thai chili on its own or on a cracker. However you like it. Brunswick boneless sardines. Snacking made easy. Snacking made healthy. Snacking made tasty.
On the next episode of the Mailbox, we'll be focusing on God's grace. God's grace signifies God's favor, kindness, and love bestowed upon humanity, offering forgiveness, salvation, and the means to live a righteous life. You are invited to hear the testimony of Mr. Paul Park's journey from not being able to read after high school to guidance counselor and lecturer at the GC Foster College. The Mailbox is brought to you by Solid PVC Pipes, manufactured in Jamaica by Fosterich Company Limited. That's Wednesday, April 16 at 5:30 p.m. only on the family station Love 101. The Mailbox, Monday.
Going dark and a witch part John. He go preach your word, preach it up like a storm. And 19 coming back.
Join us as we count down to Arise 2025 this Easter Sunday, April 20 at the National Arena, 5 p.m. And Jamaica, you must be there. Listen to Love 101 for the music, the updates, giveaways, and much more. Thursdays, 11:30 a.m. to 12 p.m. General admission, only 5,000. 6,000 at the gate. VIP, 9,000. Tickets at Sorts of Light. Music Mart, SpurOpen.com/Arise 2025. Get your tickets now at SpurOpen.com/Arise 2025. And come sing with the Hoppers. Celebrate with the Gospel Proclaimers. Kingsway Alumni Reunion Voices. Carrie Sales. Venetia Nicholson Reed. Humble and others. That's Countdown to Arise 2025. Listen to Love 101 Thursdays, 11:30 a.m. to 12 p.m. Arise 2025. Easter Sunday, April 20, National Arena. It's gonna be a shouting time in Kingston.
I call you holy.
The Welcome Park New Testament Church of God, in association with Donnie McClurkin Ministries and Allowed to Shine Ministries under the leadership of Nadine Blair, presents a Pastors Forum and Evening of Worship. The Pastors Forum and Evening of Worship will be held on Thursday, May 1, 5 p.m. for the Pastors Forum, 7 p.m. for the Evening of Worship, featuring Audience of One, the Welcome Park New Testament Church of God Worship Team, and Pastor Donnie McClurkin. Admission is free. Bring an offering. That's the Pastors Forum and Evening of Worship, presented by Donnie McClurkin. Don't miss this time of worship and fellowship. Thursday, May 1. See you there.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. I'm your host, Stokeley Marshall. We are in the second watch having a discussion with Reverend Dr. Clinton Baldwin and Michael Allen. Michael Allen, a Christian who celebrates Passover. Reverend Dr. Baldwin, sir, why should persons be celebrating Passover and or Easter or none at all. You know, the discussion, of course, being should he be doing Passover or should we pass over this Jewish tradition, Dr. Baldwin?
Yeah. Yes, with respect to Passover, the New Testament teaches that all the Jewish festivals, Passover, Tabernacles, Pentecost, etc., all the Jewish festivals found their fulfillment in Jesus. And as such, Colossians chapter 2, for example, 16, 17 says, let no man judge you with respect to festivals, new moon, or Sabbath days. Here, the writer of Colossians uses three-tier designation to encapsulate all the Jewish festivals of the Old Testament, festivals, new moons, or Sabbath days, all the holy times. And it is saying that they are a shadow of things to come, but the reality of them all is Jesus. In other words, when the reality of a symbol arrives, then you no longer make the shadow, the symbol, mandatory. If you make the roadmap mandatory after you've reached your destination, you'll be denying the fact that you've reached your destination. You don't make your shadow mandatory while you are physically present. So the New Testament is saying in many places that Jesus is now your Passover. Jesus is now your liberator. You've not been liberated from Egyptian slavery, but from the slavery of sin. Your Passover lamb is no longer a four-footed animal, but Jesus himself. Therefore, you have the reality. You cannot, at the same time, make the symbol of the said reality mandatory while the reality is present. That is a principle throughout the New Testament, as categorically says in Colossians chapter 2, 16 and 17, and there are many other places as well. If I have more time, I could speak to the issue of the new Israel, but I yield at this time.
Well, Dr. Baldwin, just a quick one, just to make sure this is understanding exactly what you're saying. Is it that you're not against Passover being celebrated so long as it is not mandatory?
Right. And as long as for the Christian, the celebration is not to commemorate coming out of Egypt or using a physical lamb. It is recognizing that your lamb is Jesus, your liberation is from sin, etc. So if you want to celebrate the Passover, fine. But as a Christian, it is with new transformative meanings that you would celebrate it.
With a new motive. It's a new motive.
It's a new motive. It's a new motive. It's a new motive.
It's almost as if it's a new type of Passover.
Exactly. So it's a new type of Passover. Just as it's a new type of Pentecost, it's a new type of Tabernacles. Everything, all the Old Testament symbols are reformulated and re-engineered in the New Testament. Christ is now the judge of them all.
I see. Well, let us jump back to our friend, Mr. Michael Allen. Michael Allen, sir. You have heard Dr. Baldwin. Do you celebrate the Passover in the way that Dr. Baldwin seemed to be positing, or are you thinking of the persons leaving Egypt? You know, is the sacrifice the lamb in your case? Do you think about these things, even if you don't do a physical sacrificing? I'm sure you don't. So, what runs through your mind when you celebrate Passover, sir?
Okay, I disagree with a lot of the interpretation that the Rev has given the scripture.
What are the disagreements?
Well, for one, that passage in Colossians chapter 2, verse 17, it's actually being interpreted incorrectly. Peter himself told us that, beloved Apostle Paul is not easily understood. And that scripture in verse 16, reading it to you from the Complete Jewish Bible, it says, Do not let anyone pass judgment on you in connection with eating and drinking or in regards to a Jewish festival, a Sabbath. They are a shadow of things to come, but the body is of the Messiah. The understanding is that Paul is saying to these believers in Colossians that you have come over from your pagan customs. You are now actually practicing the feast. And don't let anybody stop you from practicing these things. Right? In Genesis chapter 1, verse 14, the Lord created the light. And he said they had some function. One of them was to signal an appointed time, an appointed meeting time with him. And this meeting time has not changed. It remains. Jesus in Matthew tells us that he did not come to abolish Torah. He did not come to abolish the instructions that were given to us by the Father, but rather to properly interpret them. This same Paul tells us that we are to keep the feast, not with the malice and all of those things. That scripture I can refer to in detail, but in essence, what I'm saying to you is, the Father has given us an invitation. He has given us 7 of them. Passover is just the first. An appointed time when he wants to meet with us. And he expects that these things are to be upheld through all generations until all of the word is fulfilled and it passes away. So there's no, Paul himself kept the feast. The apostles themselves kept the feast even after Yeshua died on the cross. When Paul was released out of prison,
when you say Yeshua, you're referring to many others will say Jesus.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. Yes. So even when Peter was delivered out of prison, it was they were celebrating Passover and praying at the same time when he was actually released.
So are you saying that we should celebrate not only Passover but all the other feasts and, can I say, traditions? Let me say feasts. All those other feasts that were being done before the resurrection?
Exactly, because they point to Christ. They tell a story of how God is going to redeem mankind. All of these
is that a reflection of messianic Christianity? Do I have the term correct?
Well, you could label it like that, but it is a reflection of what the true principle of God's word is.
Or maybe I had the term wrong. Messianic Judaism, is that the correct term?
I would put it a different way. I would tell you that the Christian church have misinterpreted and have disobeyed a lot of the instructions from the
Very interesting, but we might have to leave it there for now. Well, Dr. Baldwin, is it that the background you're coming from is a Sabbath background, sir? Do I have it correct or am I incorrect?
Is that directed at me?
Yes, Dr. Baldwin.
No, let me say, I'm coming from the New Testament background.
So, in terms of the New Testament background, sir, you are disagreeing with Michael Allen in terms of...
I'm disagreeing. The fact that Paul or even Jesus kept Passover doesn't automatically make it mandatory for the Christian. Jesus was circumcised, Paul was circumcised.
Automatically make it mandatory. Have to leave it there this morning because we are totally out of time. And we do apologize for the technical issues that we have had today, but very interesting discussion, gentlemen, Mr. Allen and Reverend Dr. Baldwin. Thank you so much. And thank you, listeners, for being with us. Join us again tomorrow as we look at other issues of the day. Of course, visit our Love 101 FM YouTube channel and Facebook page and now TikTok at Love 101 FM Jamaica for our programs. Download our Love 101 app and stay connected to us, the #1 gospel station in Jamaica. Thanks to our producer, Kathy Gale, and to our guests. I am Stokeley, Marsh, and Love in the Morning with Chukal.